Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. I'm the master taster of Whisky.com, and today I have no bottle and no sample. And it's again about the special releases of Diageo, vintage 2015. And I showed in the introductory video of the special releases, where I showed this box with the samples, that there was an empty space. And in that empty space, there was the bottle or the sample of the Dailuaine 34 years, vintage 1980 till 2015, 53.9 ABV missing. So I have no idea why this sample was missing. Either the bottle isn't there, still the bottling failed as often in Scotland, so that there was no empty slot for bottling, that the lorry broke down or whatever. There's weird things happening in Scotland. Or they decided not to sell in Europe. Or they said, well, there will be an original bottling on the market as with Dufftown. There hadn't been a bottling of Dufftown, and then the singleton of Dufftown arose and spread over the market, is selling quite well. And Dailuaine, probably they tried to start one of those, and they do not want to waste the name in the beginning as very expensive. So, no idea why not. I have an idea how Dailuaine is tasting, because there had been a scandal in the year 2004-2005, where the Cardew single malt whiskey switched over in a blended malt, formerly known as pure malt or vatted malt. And they produced, if I'm remembering right, these additional malts on the Dailuaine Distillery's pastilles. And you have the chance to change the taste and the character of a spirit through changing the process. Means you start your hard cut at a certain temperature and density, and then you decide to cut the middle cut earlier, so that there is no such intense heavier aromas in the whiskey, so you cut off lighter. And with this, they were able to mimicry the Cardew, and the bottling, the pure malt bottling, which contained most of the content, if not all, came from Dailuaine, tasted better than the 12-year-old then. But connoisseurs, they cried, and they were very loud, and they stopped that. So they tried to change the name of the Cardew distillery in the old name of Cardau, and the Cardew would convert into a brand, a vatted malt brand filled with Dailuaine. So they stopped that, and during this discussion they also banned the word pure. So pure malt is no longer, it's either a single or a blend. Also the vat was killed. So I have an idea how the Dailuaine whiskey is tasting, and there are two bottles of Dailuaine on the market. It's a 16-year-old Flora and Fauna. Or are they gone? No, they're still there, I think. I tasted that already. I don't know if in English or not. And there was a 1997 Manager's Choice bottling, which is also done by the proprietor as the Flora and Fauna. It's by Diageo. And the Manager's Choice, I have a Manager's Choice bottle here. They look like this. This is an open. And there they bottled the 27 best casks from the company ever made. The bottle was above 200 and was just 10, 11, 12 years old. I have no idea, no remembrance of that. So the Dailuaine Distillery had no official bottling, and this one, the 34-year-old, will be the first. And most of the production, it's at 2%, but I think it's 98%. I think 99% is going into blends, and most of it goes into Johnnie Walker. And they ship the raw whiskey by lorry, by street tanker, to Cambus, and there's a grain distillery, and there they fill the whiskey into casks, and just close to Cambus is the Black Range Bond, where huge area with warehouses where most of the whiskey worldwide, I think, matures. Dailuaine produces 3.3 million liters of raw whiskey on 6 huge stills, and well, only very, very few is bottled as a single malt. How does this single malt will taste? Well, I have this booklet with the official tasting note, but you have to be very careful. Official tasting notes are most often influenced by marketeers. So they say smooth and mellow and whatever, and then you have a harsh, alcohol-laden, young, throat-burning. So it's a lot of marketing. If you have such a special release booklet, then you have the knowledge of people writing down their thoughts, but you do not know those people. If you follow my videos for quite a time, then you find out where my taste impressions are different from yours. You can say, well, 2/3 are good, the rest is rubbish. Or you say, well, that man doesn't fit my taste at all. So there you have a feeling. But here you have an expert. For the next whiskey, you have an expert, and so on. You have no idea which expert or how to classify that expert. And there is nothing like a true taste. Everything is, well, personally, everything is individually. There is no exact taste. And when he says there is candied gooseberry, well, it's his impression, not yours. And you might not find it. You might not even know how candied gooseberries will taste. Yeah. Beautifully balanced, so this is Dailuaine, 34 years. Beautifully balanced, structured and focused, both at cask strength, and when smoothed out with water, it's precise, with a clean, well-sharpened nose, and is delightfully rich, yet also drying in palate and finish. Blur. Nothing. This is a 0 description. Have you heard any aromas? Vanilla, caramel, whatever. So this is the typical you get on a bottle. This is marketing, and they try to bring over some thoughts to you. And then you have a tasting guide, which is better. So here there's an expert who describes whiskey quite often. Unfortunately, they do not tell me who this is. I haven't read that book completely. Here's a man tasting. Keith Law. I'm not quite sure if he tasted all. This is about the Kelly, the Caledonian, 40 years old, I had a few days ago. So you can't tell who tasted that. Light and immediate, with citrus backed by rich creamy toffee and grainy cereals. Fragrant and herbal too, with rosemary or oregano on a chalky mineral base. Which water do they use? As it develops, the perfumed top note is joined by more detailed maltiness with barley sugar and subtle peat. Later, traces of caramelized orange and oak shavings sit beneath ripe autumnal fruits and a little clean menthol. A little water brings greater depth, softening the fragrance to rose water as it brings up white chocolate, peach halves in syrup, and a faint background of sweet smoke. Body rich, smoothie, and syrupy. Palate smooth textured at full strength, sweet overall, with fresh acidity and a saltiness unusual in Dailuaine. This develops in a drying cough candy note, which in turn deepens into dense and spicy dark chocolate-coated ginger. Spicy. Growing creamy with a faint hint of espresso, the old wood. Water cools and cleans the overall taste, which becomes slightly minty and distinctly fruity with a soft malt and faintly waxy. Finish, there's a peppery tingle in the warming finish, which is oaky and herbal in dry, coating tannins. Behind, notes and roasted coffee lead to clean aromatic conclusion, while spice remains in the lingering aftertaste. With water, it's lighter, more cedary and waxy. The late tannins are smoother and longer. So this is quite a detailed tasting note. Gives you an idea, but it's not sure if you find this tasting note somewhere. There's a solution to these problems. There is a whiskey database on Whisky.com. And there you can look up the Dailuaine Distillery. And then you get these icons. And those are not these emoticons, we call them tasticons. They are icons describing the taste of the whiskey. And for all bottles which people, users on Whisky.com have rated, and Dailuaine is quite a rare distillery, we only have 21 ratings here. We calculated averages over all the bottles of the distillery, which should lead to a distillery style, average distillery style. And here you see a fruitiness with 5 icons, and these icons have a half of an apple, a plum, a pear, and whatever that is. And then oakiness, 3.5 casks, and more brown, lighter brown red sherry casks, 2.5, and sweetness, there are sugar cubes, 2.5. I'll have a closer look to this. And the tasting in the middle, very sweet, oak. Then there's a spiciness, which is a peppermill and some ginger and a nut. And here we have just pepper, which is the peppermill. And spiciness again, fruitiness, malt, the barley with the roots developing, so this is malt, and 1.5 sherry casks as well. And if you compare these notes, or if we tried that, and when we looked up the first bottles, it was kicking me. It was so unbelievable true what we find out. And if you have a look at that and have the remembrance of those bottles, what you tasted in them, it's, you're starting to shiver. You have how it's called, goose skin. Ooh. So it was so well matching. It was incredible. And if you have no idea how a whiskey will taste, then looking up the average taste of a distillery, there are also quality ratings, and quality ratings changing over time, so that you can see if the taste of the distillery is going up or down. What happens? And if you compare these to what is written here, there are really good parallels. So they have the fruity and citrus-backed perfume top note. This is this fruity note. Then barley sugar. There's the sugar below. Ripe annual fruits. The fruits again. The oak knot. and then in the palate, the first is smooth, textured, at full strength, sweet overall. And what you find here in the taste in the middle, sugar cubes, 5 Tasticons. And then goes on, spicy dark chocolate, ginger, growing creamy, espresso. And there you see the spiciness, the oak, the ginger, everything is there. So the Tasticons really show what's going on in a whiskey. Well, there are some whiskey which are not that average to a distillery. If you have a third fill independent bottle showing like white wine, then this will fit loosely, if at all. So there's a very good start with this Tasticon looking up in our whiskey database to find out how whiskey might taste. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned. Have a look in our whiskey database, how your whiskeys you know of. Rate in the whiskey database and show the Tasticons. You will be, you will be quite excited to see how good things fit. There's a chance that you do not belong to the average, that your taste differs from the average. Then all this will not fit. But 2 standard deviations will cover 2/3 of the tastes, so it's very likely that you will find yourself in these tasting notes as well. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer your questions in our forum on Whisky.com.